Hey everyone, I'm Jeff Lamberton here with my dad, Dr. John Lamberton. We have a special video today about Antoine Jacops from Vorselaar Belgium. He was my dad's mentor, and I just wanted my dad to come in here and give an intro onto who Antoine is, tell us a little bit about his pigeons and his impact on our racing loft. So let's start at the beginning. How did you meet Antoine?
Well, I had in order to answer that question, I kind of have to start at the beginning, and the beginning begins with Mike Gannis. And I had the good fortune of meeting Mike when he was extremely young, and bought some Jansons from him from a fancier by the name of Rene Truyen, and developed a friendship with Mike, and he arranged to take four others besides himself to Belgium, and that was the first trip that he ever organized, and he recorded it on his video that was the first one in his series of videos. So because of my friendship with Mike, I had the opportunity to go to Belgium, and the purpose was to visit some world-class, world-famous lofts. And I had never heard of Antoine Jacops prior to arriving in Belgium, actually. I just simply knew there was a fancier that cut diamonds for a living, and I didn't really remember the name too much, but we visited a number of world-class fanciers, including obviously the Jansen brothers and Joseph van Limp de Klerk and Carl Mulmans, and so many world-class breeders and fanciers. And one of these fanciers was named Antoine Jacops, and that's so we went over to Antoine's house, and where I met him and his wonderful wife, Maria, and his son, Jan, who was pretty young at the time. I can't remember exactly when that was, but I believe we went over to Belgium in like 1982, maybe 1983. And so it's been quite a number of years ago when I met Antoine for the first time.
So you go there, and how did you know that he was going to be somebody you wanted to learn from? How did you build your friendship?
Well, that's kind of another interesting story. Jeff, as you know, I have a dear friend, Dominic Rapucci, and he was one of the five of us that went, Mike, myself, Dominic, and two others. And Dominic was familiar with Jacobs, his reputation. Dominic had never met him, he'd never been to Belgium before, but Dominic was real sold on the Jacob pigeons, and I'd never heard of him, didn't really know much about him. So I kind of rode Dominic's enthusiasm for Antoine in order to really think that Antoine was someone that, you know, that I needed to, that I could learn something from. So I owe kind of my original enthusiasm for Antoine's friendship to Dominic. But then once you meet Antoine and Maria, they're incredible host and hostess. They roll out the red carpet for all those that come from all over the world to their home. He has beautiful lofts, a beautiful home, and it was just a very enchanting place to be. And Antoine and Maria were not your typical Belgian couple in that they kind of reminded you of a home somewhere in the United States. They're very American in the way they think and talk and act, and so it made my time there very comfortable, because you know, it was almost like going to visit someone in Indiana or Ohio or back in the Northeast somewhere. So I just instantly felt at home, very comfortable. And then when I handled the pigeons, Antoine's type of pigeon was my favorite type of pigeon at the time. And that's kind of a middle distance type of bird, a lot of blue bars, a lot of pencils. They were colored the way I liked. And of course, you know, I didn't know what I do now, and Jeff, you know now about racing pigeons, because obviously both Mike and Antoine have taught me practically everything I've learned. So I didn't really have an appreciation, but I just knew on some basic level, I liked his birds. So I liked Antoine and Maria, liked their home, liked the culture in the house, liked the birds, liked the loft. You know, it just, it all just, it was one of those things where it just, right place, right time, and magic kind of happened.
I want to test your memory. Do you remember bringing in your first set of Antoine Jacops pigeons into the United States and putting them together and flying them? Is that too far back to remember?
No, I can remember exactly. But again, in order to answer your question, I'm going to have to bring in Mike Gannis, because Mike brought the first Jacobs into the United States. And so my first pair of Jacobs I purchased at Mike's house in Indiana. And he was in South Bend at the time, I believe. And so he had one of his annual barbecues that he used to have years ago. And those were so much fun to go to, and well attended by people all over.
Yeah, I got to go to one last year with Jan and I went.
Did you? Okay. Well, it's just that they were so much fun. And so Antoine had sort of, Mike had bought a whole, I hate to use the word kit, but a whole group of his pigeons in. And so Mike I kind of knew from Antoine what kind of bloodlines I wanted to start with, but Mike really helped me. And really it was Mike that picked them out for me. And I brought them home, and one was a son of a pigeon called the Geshifty, and the other was a daughter of the Playboy. And those were two birds that Antoine bought at a sale of Willie Van Barendonk that had a son of Carl Millman's Golden Couple. And so the Geshifty, the Playboy, and a bird called the Wrong Willie were three sons of this son of the Golden Couple that Antoine purchased from Willie Van Barendonk. And so I took two first cousins, a son of the Geshifty, and then a daughter of the Geshifty's full brother, the Playboy, and put them together. And they were a first cousin mating, and they were the first excellent pair of Antoine Jacobs that I had. And they were super pigeons, you know, not that Antoine has continued to have super pigeons, but those pigeons were very, very special. And that was a golden breeding pair for us.
And when we show the Antoine Jacobs videos, I believe those pigeons are in the video. We can get a visual of what they looked like. All very beautiful birds. So that'll be exciting to see when people watch this back.
Well, good. I hope so. You haven't asked me the question yet, but while I'm thinking about it, and but Antoine started in pigeons in the very, very early 1960s, and he bought about 50 young birds, and he raced them as hard as he could. And I think at the end of the race season, he had maybe, ballpark, the exact number doesn't really matter, but it's maybe 20 to 25 birds left. And he got rid of all of them except for one. And that was this white cock that he had gotten from a guy named Verhart. That's a famous, at the time was well known, I don't know about famous, but a well-known fancier in Belgium, had excellent pigeons. And Antoine didn't have a hen. So there was a old timer at the time in the city of Vorselaar there, when Antoine was at the clubhouse one night lamenting the fact that he had this beautiful white cock that raced really well, but he had no hen. And the old fancier said, well, don't worry, I'll get you a hen. So Antoine's first hen was actually a gift from a fancier there, either in Vorselaar or a town nearby, that raced with Antoine. And that was his initial pair that he started with. So the reason I like to point that out is that Jeff, you could tell me better than anyone, but every 10 to 15 young birds that we raise, we get a white one or a nearly white one.
Absolutely. And that happens with people that get birds from us. They'll have birds that randomly throw a white one and they call and wondering what happened. And that's goes back to the original white from 1961. He bred the broken foot, who was 9 times first. And it goes from there to many winners all the way to the birds that we have now winning.
Absolutely. So that's been over 40 years ago. If my math, no, that's not right. My math's wrong. That's 60 years ago.
Yeah.
That those pigeons are still producing. And one of the reasons why, is that, like you said, the old white cock bred a pigeon that Antoine called the broken leg cock that won 9 times the first prize. And that bird then bred
the horse.
Yeah, but a number of excellent pigeons. One was the bad luck bird, and some others that Antoine always has great names for his pigeons. But one had won a race at Cahors, and Antoine called him Cahors. And then he
5th national Cahors in 82.
Right. Thank you. I'd kind of forgotten the exact statistics, but then he coupled the Cahors with a granddaughter, I believe, of the white cock, and raised the Klein Cahors. And Klein in Flemish or in Dutch means small. So it was a little smaller version of the father, the Cahors. So he called it the Klein Cahors.
His first National Olympiad, 1987.
Right. Yeah. And he was the first ace in 85.
Right.
And then won the Olympiad in Germany, in Dortmund, Germany in 87. But the Klein Cahors was actually a double bred down from the white pigeon. So that's the bloodline that we followed with our pigeons. So that's another reason why our pigeons tend to throw white pigeons, is because white pigeons are solidly in the pedigrees,
right?
Even though it's been 60 years ago. And there's another way the white gets in there too, but we can discuss that when you want to. So anyway, it's kind of an interesting story how Antoine got started, and he's always been competitive. Was an incredibly competitive man. He took incredible care of his birds, real technician. So he's a master breeder, a master racer. And so it didn't take him long to become a very dominant force in the Antwerp Union, which is where he flew there in Vorselaar.
It's one of the toughest places in the world to fly as well.
Absolutely.
Very tough competition. And Antoine's video focuses on the 80s and early 90s, and then mid 90s to early 2000s. He was always looking for a hen to put with his best cocks. So we can talk about Dirk van Dijk's Cannibal and Antoine going and getting a sister. That's not in the Antoine video that we're going to be showing, but it is part of the history.
Well, Antoine was real well respected among fanciers in Belgium, had a lot of friends. And so he would replenish the bloodline in his birds by going and getting the best hen he could. And the hens that he brought in, and he did it every 5 years or so. But the hens that he brought in would be a sister to an ace pigeon or something. So it just wasn't, he just didn't go to someone's loft and look at 10 hens and try to
He was
pick the
looking
best
for the
one.
best, very best.
He had to get a full sister to the very best pigeons that were winning in Europe. And so the sister of the cannibal was exactly that type of hen. The cannibal was, and in fact, to tell you the truth, he got the sister to the cannibal before the cannibal was ever named first national ace. Antoine knew the Van Dykes and kind of knew the inside story. And so actually, I think the cannibal was named first national ace some weeks after Antoine secured the sister. So, but that's the type of hen that he wanted to bring in, something that would improve his line and not just add to it, and certainly not take away from it.
Anything else we want to add before we wrap up and show everyone the Antoine Jacops video?
Well, one quick thing, I sort of left something hanging a minute ago when I said talking about white pigeons. When Antoine brought the birds from Willie van Barendonk into his bloodline, and these three brothers, two of them worked out a little bit better, I think, than all three of them worked out. All three of them were great breeders, but two of them we've kind of used those bloodlines more than the Playboy and the Shifty, but we've pretty much settled on the Playboy is the bird from Willie van Barendonk that Antoine bought that we've kind of used in our bloodlines. And if you know much about the Mullen pigeons, the golden couple, as they're the best pair of Mullmans are known as, was a Van Bosch cock and a Jansen hen. And that's one of the reasons that Ad Schallikens wrote his book on the Jansen brothers, is because of the Jansen hen and the golden couple. But anyway, Van den Bosch birds are down from, even though the Van den Bosch cock was a dark check, but it had some white on it, a little bit of white. And the Mullen pigeons, the Van den Bosch cock, are down from some whites from a fancier, I believe, in about the 1930s, called Maes, M-A-E-S. And Maes, I think, if my memory serves me correctly, was a fairly wealthy fancier that was able to buy some of the best birds there were. And so a lot of fanciers in Belgium can trace their birds back to the pigeons of Maes. And so whites also come down from the Maes pigeons through the Van den Bosch of Carl Mullmans. And so there are a number of ways that white pigeons are in the Jacob pigeons and in our pigeons also.
Excellent. Well, we're excited to show everyone this video. You know, I was able to get it transferred from VHS to digital, and so I want to share it and let him get the recognition that he deserves. He wasn't the type of person to advertise very much, but his impact has been far and wide in the pigeon world for sure.
Well, Antoine never advertised, and that was one of his, I wouldn't say one of his problems, but it didn't make him too popular sometimes with the people that ran the magazines, because he wasn't the type of person to brag about his birds. But I'll tell you this, Antoine stole the exact same pigeons that he raced.
Exactly.
There wasn't his best pairs and then maybe a little less pairs that were a little less good that he actually sold out of. In fact, I've been in his loft many times, and I've held some of the birds that he has sold, and I've said to him, Antoine, this is the better bird than the one you kept. And he said, I know, but I sold it. And
Yeah,
so Antoine, once a bird was sold, it was sold, and he
right.
didn't go, oh, well, I'll sell him the one that's in my breeding loft and keep this later hatch, But he had a tremendous moral fiber and moral character, was very well respected.
All right. So we've talked about the original white, the broken foot,
Well,
the
just say broken foot cock.
yeah, broken foot cock, Cahors, Klein Cahors, and one of the biggest impacts in our loft have been the Super Ace and the Diamond Ace, who are sons of the Klein Cahors.
The small Cahors produced three rather outstanding racing pigeons, three provincial champions, the Super Ace, the Diamond Ace, and the Whippin Ace. And we have had birds down from the Super Ace and the Diamond Ace. Those are just the ones that I seem to like the best, and it just I don't know why we kind of settled on those, but I'm so glad we did, because those have been two of Antoine's very best breeders. So our present day pigeons are heavy into the Super Ace, which was a first provincial champion, and the Diamond Ace, which was also a first provincial champion.
And then in closing here, let's talk a little bit about when Antoine came to Tulsa, Oklahoma, where we live, and spent time here at your loft and with the family.
Well, our friendship with Antoine goes both ways. He just wasn't someone that we went to visit from time to time, although that happened many times. That I went to Belgium and stayed in their home. I never stayed in a hotel. I think maybe the very last time I went over there, I might have, because I think he wasn't feeling well, or Maria wasn't, or something. But I had a room upstairs. They had a 2-story house, and I had a room upstairs that I stayed in, and I would stay usually for some weeks, helping Antoine in his lofts. And so it wasn't just where I went over for a couple hours and held some nice pigeons. I would actually live in their home, get up, go out the lofts with Antoine, help scrape, and he would give me, he'd always generally take care of the racing loft. Now, there were a couple times I went over that Antoine actually got sick while I was there. And so I ended up actually taking care of the racing lofts, feeding and scraping and taking them to the clubhouse and so forth. And wow, what a thrill that was to
Oh, absolutely.
have that responsibility. Yeah, it was tremendous. But also Antoine came to our home in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where we live currently, and still live today. And he stayed with us in our home, and he and Maria would come. And Jeff, I think the first time that he and Maria came over, you were 1 or 2 years old, and we still have some great pictures of you on our website when you were, I'm going to guess, about 1 or, like I said, 2 years old with Antoine. And he loved you like you were one of his kids, and you've had the very good fortune of, even when you were younger, when you may not have understood everything we were talking about, you were out in the loft with us and saw what we
around
were
it.
doing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I doubt you'll ever remember not knowing Antoine for the first year of your life. And he's just been a dear, both he and Maria both have been dear friends. And it's been a friendship. Pigeons were always kind of secondary. But we enjoyed a tremendous friendship with him. And, you know, we have hundreds and hundreds of stories about our family and Antoine and Maria, and also Mike and Debbie Gannis have been dear friends with Antoine also. And I know Antoine's been up to their home in Indiana multiple times. So, you know, his relationship with the people here in the United States has been one of friendship, and then kind of pigeons. Pigeons were kind of the reason that we got together when we did, but the reason we stayed getting together was because of friendship. So Antoine is an unusual man. He sold sometimes better birds than he kept. He's a man of tremendous moral fiber and character. He's a genius at breeding. One of the reasons his birds are so good is because of his friendships with people all over Belgium. And he was able to bring in hens, particularly that were added to the family of his pigeons. And he and Maria had a tremendous home. And he's just, you know, he's our dearest mentor outside of Mike. But he's a dear mentor, and he's changed my life. And I think he's changed yours, Jeff. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree. That's why we're really excited to show everyone this video, and I think we should go ahead and get it planned. Thank you, Dad, for your time and for the stories.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for calling.
I'm sure the audience will enjoy having you in the videos. We'll get you in the videos more. So.
Okay, son. Thanks.
All right. Thanks. Enjoy, everyone.
Antoine Jacops lives in the province of Antwerp, Belgium. He is a diamond cutter, as is his wife Maria. Antoine lives in Vorselaar, a very quiet village not far from this nice castle. He started in pigeon sport in 1966 and won his first prize in 1967. From 1967 to 1991, he has won many first prizes, from 116 kilometers up to more than 800 kilometers. Antoine's success has made him very well known. Here he is with the president of the Belgian Federation. Smalt the Hoor Olympiad pigeon in 1987 Germany, the proof of victories. In his area, one can compete every week in many different races. Most fanciers specialize in one category, short, middle, or long distance. This makes competition very hard. Antoine, what is your strain?
I built up my strain with 3-4 different many years ago, and now after 25 years I think I can tell I have my own strain.
He won 9 first prizes and bred more than 20 first prize winners. 4 generations of his descendants, all top prize winners themselves, have only enhanced his worldwide reputation. This 5th generation son of Super Ace won the first prize at Roy in 1991. Antoine's lofts are set out in an L shape, airy, well lit, and dry. In this breeding loft, there are 28 cages, 25 of which are occupied by breeding pairs. Most of the breeders have come from the racing loft, but only after 5 years of proven racing success. 20 of these pigeons have either won at least 1 first prize or are ace pigeons. So you can see that the best flyers are very often the best breeders too. Are your champion birds bred by stock birds or are the parents members of your widowhood team?
I have 90% van my best birds die coming from my stock birds. And my stock birds, they are so good. First, they have 5 years in the racing team, and after 5 years, they come in the stock loft, and then they produced my best young birds.
What do you do to keep the birds in such good health?
I keep the birds in a good health with my vet. The vet is coming every 3-4 weeks in the race season, and he checks all my birds, young birds, stock birds, and also the racing team. So it's not a problem for me.
Do you use vitamins?
I used vitamins every week, 1 day, but never in the drink water. Just on the food. I think it's important that they have the birds. They have every day clean water.
During particularly rainy summers, Antoine spreads the ground with dried peat pods to keep the loft dry, which is extremely important. The Smolkoer is the star of the loft. After 5 years of flying, he's put together a terrific record. Among his many accomplishments, he was first ace pigeon Antwerp Union, third ace pigeon of the magazine De Belgische Duvensport, and represented Belgium at the 1987 Olympiad in Germany. He is a grandson of the foundation cock, the Gebokenpoot, and now is follow-up in the breeding loft, along with several of his descendants. Others remain on the flying team. One of his sons is the famous Super Ace, who was first ace pigeon Hafolier in 1988 and 1989. He was also first ace pigeon of the magazine De Belgische Duvensport, with 500 points more than the winner of first national ace pigeon of Roger Persoons. She's the daughter of the super breeder de Playboy, who is a grandson of Mulleman's Foundation pair. The Playboy has produced many good breeders, who are leaving their mark in the USA, Japan, Taiwan, England, and Ireland. The Super Ace was a super flyer from the Belgische Duvensport, with even better results than his famous father, the Smolkoer. Among his accomplishments was winning first ace pigeon Hafolier in 1988 and 89. He was also first ace pigeon of the magazine The Belgische Duvensport, 500 points ahead of the 34087, the national ace pigeon from Roger Pearsons. After many requests from the USA, Japan, Taiwan, and England for his offspring, he was put in the breeding loft to reduce the risk. This small hen is a full sister of the best flyer from the Van Leer brothers, who've won many first prizes in the Antwerp Union. She was specially selected to cross with the Super Race to bring the breeding loft to an even higher level. Another fabulous son of the great Smolkoer. He is the sire to Antoine's best young bird in 1990. He again proves the great breeding qualities of these bloodlines. She's the last daughter of the Verooid, top flyer of Jacobs Loft in the years 77 to 83. The Verooid won first place in the Antwerp Union, 10 minutes ahead of 3,405 pigeons. In her career, she won the 1,000 Superpool 18 times. This is the son of Smolkoer. He is the son of the Arkenton Deuven. In 8 days, he won 3rd place Doordan and the Antwerp Union, and 9th place National Argentin against 22,000 pigeons, winning over $6,000. She is the granddaughter of the famous Witness from Mullemans. The last son of the Smolkoer. He is Antoine's favorite and was directly placed in the breeding loft to preserve this fantastic blood. She was obtained from the loft of the many times Belgian speed champion Carl Hufkens, son of Gael. She is a full sister to Carl Hufkens' first national ace speed pigeon, who also represented Belgium in that division at the Olympiad in Germany in 1987. Sarve de Schöne Blau was a grandson of Carl Mulleman's Foundation pair, Ude van de Bosch and Blauwe Jansen. De Schöne Blau was the most beautiful pigeon in the breeding loft. For 5 years, he was a top flyer, winning first Hafolier twice. She's a granddaughter of the famous Small Cahors. He was first ace pigeon in the Antwerp Union and represented Belgium at the 1987 Olympiad in Germany. De Argentine Duven won 9th place national Argentine against 22,000 pigeons, winning over $6,000. What is typical of a good bird?
I think typical for a good bird, that is when they have seen all the things and is very alert and he have altijd the best health and the best conditioning, and I think is typical for a good bird.
What's the main thing you're looking for? Do they need to be big or small?
I think you have good birds, the small ones, big ones, and the middle size. I think you have good in all the sizes.
Do you race young birds? And if so, how often? And up to what distance?
I race all my young birds, and the most of them have races from 350 to 400 kilometers, and some females to 600 kilometers.
What about the yearlings?
And the yearlings, the most the time van 350 to 450 kilometers. And some one race from 650.
This fabulous breeder is a grandson of Mulleman's Foundation pair. He is sire to the Bonte Ace, the Blauwe Witpen, and grandfather of the Super Ace. The Playboy and his daughters, who are all great breeding hens, are the aces of Antoine Jacops' breeding loft. This beautiful hen is a daughter of the Small Cahors and a granddaughter of the Playboy. She is mated to her grandfather to preserve the terrific bloodlines. Another superflyer, who is retired to the breeding loft. He's a son of the Playboy, and he was 9th Ace Pigeon Antwerp Union in 1984, 2nd Ace Pigeon Herentals in 1985, 7th Ace Pigeon Antwerp Union in 1985, and 10th Ace Pigeon of the magazine De Belgische Duvensboord in 1985. He won the 1000 Super Bowl 8 times during his flying career and a color TV in 1984. She's the daughter of the Electric, pair 20, purchased from Andre van Brouwen, and is a full brother to first place international Barcelona and son of the world-famous Electric from Van Brouwen. Son of the fabulous breeder to Playboy, the Blauwe Witpen was a crack flyer in Antoine Jacops' loft, winning first place Nooyen, first place Doordan, second place Orléans, the Antwerp Union, and second place Orléans, the province of Antwerp. Daughter of the Super Ace, the super flyer known all over the world. De Limoges is the direct son of Antoine's foundation cock, the Broken Pot, who won first place 9 times. De Limoges was the top flyer at the long distance, winning first place in Limoges. She's a beautiful daughter of de Schöne Blauwe. This is a grandson of the Broken Pot. He was a very consistent flyer, always winning prizes. In 1985, he became 10th Ace Pigeon of the Antwerp Union. Again, a daughter from the Playboy. This pair is used for inbreeding, and according to Antoine, this is the big ace in his breeding loft. What makes a good loft?
A good loft for me is when the loft is light and the inside is dry, and I think this is most important. And for the warm countries, you need very good ventilation. And when the air is coming not in front with the pigeon, then you have a good loft. The floor is very warm now. The sweater is for the moment very cool, and the humidity is very high. And I am heating under the floor of all my racing lofts. And I think it's very, very important for the conditioning for the racing pigeons.
This grandson of the Playboy is at this time the great flying ace of the loft. In 1989, he won 4th ace pigeon, Hafolier, and in 1990 was 3rd ace pigeon in the Antwerp Union. He won 18 prizes, finished 4th in the results to represent Belgium in the 1991 Olympiad in Verona, Italy. She was Antoine's best young bird in 1988 and is a daughter of the Vooruit. She is the mother of the 06, who won 9th place at National Argenton in 1990. He did manage to win 1st ace pigeon OB, Hafo Herentals in 1985, 1st ace pigeon Yearling, Haro Hoffentals in 1985, 4th ace pigeon Belgische Duvensport magazine in 1985, and 3rd ace pigeon De Roystadt magazine. This beautiful splash hen is the daughter of the super breeder De Playboy and a full sister de Bonte ace and the Blue Witpin. Grandson of the foundation sire de Geboken Poet, he was a very good flyer and won 1st place Antwerp Union and 1st place Antwerp Overkapoling, 7 unions. Daughter of the super ace, the super flyer known all over the world. The young Vooruit got some very good results at the long distance. He is a son of that super pigeon, the Vooruit, who won 1st place in the Antwerp Union, 10 minutes ahead of 3,105 birds. He also won the 1,000 super pool 18 times. This beautiful hen won a small fortune racing in the Antwerp Union, topping it off by winning 2nd ace pigeon in the Antwerp Union. He is a full brother to the full ace, 2nd ace pigeon in the Antwerp Union. James Bond won 1st place Dorden, Antwerpse Overkapoling, 7 unions. She's the daughter of the Leite Janssen, pair 23, and the Schoen Bond. Leite's Bond was 1st ace pigeon LD, Herentals, in 1988. Antoine starts racing his widowed cocks in mid-April. To maintain them in good condition until the last race, he rests them the day following a race, with no training and only little food. He gradually builds up their training and food intake until the next race. In preparation for the race itself, he always shows his hens for a few seconds, regardless of the distance. He picks his nominated birds according to 3 criteria: the quality of their training, their physical well-being, and their dynamism. After the racing season ends, he gives his widowed cocks eggs on 2 occasions, first for 2 weeks, then for 1 week before separating them. In winter, he trains them and gives them a bath once a week only, out of fear of a hawk attack. Antoine is a good friend of the Janssen brothers and gets many pigeons directly from them. This is a son from the Grote van de Stier and was purchased directly from the Janssen brothers and is a grandson of the Jonge Merks and also the father of the 1st ace pigeon LD in the Jacops loft. She's a daughter from de Zitter and purchased from the Janssen brothers Arendonk. She is also a granddaughter of the Goede Kapotte Borstbeen, the favorite pigeon of the Janssen brothers. This nice couple are direct from the Janssen brothers. This bird was purchased from the Janssen brothers of Arendonk. He is a son of the Goede Molia and grandson of the world-famous 019. This beautiful hen was also purchased from the Janssen brothers of Arendonk. She is the daughter of the Afgekeurde and a granddaughter of the Raket. This beautiful blue barcock was purchased from the Janssen brothers of Arendonk. He is a son of the Goede Kleine Blauwe from 1982, the last 2 years the best flyer in the Janssen brothers loft. This is a daughter of Smolke Hoor and is the nest sister to the Elfpender, who Antoine sold to Japan. Purchased from the great long-distance ace, André van Brouwen of Lauwe. The Electric is a son of the Leite Electric and brother to 1st place International Barcelona. She was a very good performer as a young bird and is the mother to the Grijze Boers, the super flyer, who missed the Olympiad by the smallest coefficient ever recorded in these championships. The young Witneus was bought from Gomer Verbruggen and is the last son bred from the legendary Witneus from Hoenemans. She's the daughter of the 184 and Het Soevereinke, who won 2nd place, province of Antwerp, from La Souterraine. This beautiful pigeon is the 5th generation of winners. He won the 1st prize Roy in 1991, and now is one of the main cocks for the near future. Pigeons from this loft have won more than 50 first prizes in races of at least 350 kilometers. Fanciers from all over the world have visited Antoine at his loft. Over the past 20 years, Antoine Jacops has won more than 100 awards in the most challenging competitions and in all categories. The Woodpin ace, the son of Smolcahor, is the new cracked pigeon of Antoine's loft. He's the first ace pigeon Old Birds 1991 in the Antwerp Union, the club with the highest reputation in Belgium. You will now see the 8 new members of Antoine's 1991 Young Bird winning team from the Antwerp Union Championship. This daughter of Lake Cahors won 13 prizes, raced 5,345 kilometers, and finished in the first 10% 10 times. This granddaughter of Smolcahor won 13 prizes, raced 5,042 kilometers, finished in the first 10% 7 times, and is 4th ace pigeon of the Fawn Club Antwerp 1991. This daughter of Super Ace won 14 prizes, raced 5,460 kilometers, and finished 7 times in the first 10%. This daughter of Olympia's son won 12 prizes, raced 4,886 kilometers, and finished 8 times in the first 10%. This daughter of Smolcahor won 13 prizes, raced 5,185 kilometers, and finished 6 times in the first 10%. This daughter of Jankahor won 10 prizes, raced 4,469 kilometers, and finished 4 times in the first 10%. Raced 3,886 kilometers, and finished 4 times in the first 10%. This daughter of Jankahor won 8 prizes, raced 3,411 kilometers, and finished 3 times in the first 10%. You have now seen the winning pigeons in one of the top lofts in Belgium, a major accomplishment given the 17,000 pigeon fanciers who abound in the province of Antwerp. Antoine's professionalism has produced a strain of consistently winning pigeons and is a guarantee of your success.